Welcome in, race fans. This is Bleachers and Features, my weekly show covering the world of racing and my adventures through it, coming at you live from South Bend, Indiana, Buju HQ, which just sounds better than my basement. From Bullring B mains to Cup Series Sundays. Let's talk race cars, friends. I finally brought you a guest. I have fulfilled my promise. I lied to you for 5 weeks or whatever. What is this, episode 6? Episode 7? That wasn't on purpose. That wasn't one of those deals. Finally brought you a guest, and it's a good one, I promise you. Irish Saunders from a shop in Lakeville, Indiana. Tons of stories about racing, so looking forward to that. Going to throw this to the interview here very shortly, holding chapstick. I always fidget with something. There's always something in my hands when I'm talking to you on this podcast. Today, it is lip balm. But yeah, I'm going to throw it to the interview very shortly. Like I said, not one that you want to miss. Great conversation with my new friend, Irish Saunders. Talk about Tony Stewart and Jeff Gordon and Irish's upbringing in the same area as me here. So it's a great interview. I do want to talk about our own world of racing and all the happenings around here lately. Kalamazoo Clash this week. New Paris Crown champions. I was at M40 this week. My buddy Evan making his debut up there. So lots to talk about in the local racing world as well. South Bend Motor Speedway show coming up. Tons to talk about. And we will do that after the interview with Irish Saunders. This is a lengthy interview. We almost went an hour with Irish Saunders. 56 minutes and some change, I believe, is what the interview ended up being. So without further ado, our guest is so big, I wrote an intro on the intro to intro our guest. You know what I'm saying? There you go, Brendan. I said, you know what I'm saying? That's one for you. Brendan's been keeping track. My nephew, Brendan, giving me talking trash about how often I say, you know what I'm saying on the podcast. So I'm going to have to be mindful of that. But while our guest is probably most known for 43 years at Hoosier Racing Tire, most of those as the right-hand man to the man himself, Bob Newton. But our first guest is so much more than that. He's been an announcer at South Bend Motor Speedway, Hartford Speedway, and beyond. He's promoted Plymouth Motor Speedway. His son Garrett won his first ever car race and is a Little 500 competitor. His son Eric was one of the top motocross riders in the world and overcame a spinal injury and his own paralyzation to not only get back into racing, but to win in a sprint car. Irish has done it all, seen it all, and met them all, and the stories that Irish takes us through over the next hour were a true joy for someone with a passion for our crazy sport like myself. While he may not be a race car driver, and never has been as a matter of fact, he is the definition of a racer due to his life dedicated to our sport and the people in it. So without further ado, please join me on a trip to Lakeville, Indiana, and the lifelong home of our guest, live from the couch in the shop of the one and only, the legendary Irish Saunders. So first ever interview on Bleachers and Features. I think it's a pretty good one to kick it off. Irish Saunders joining us for, like I said, first ever interview here on Bleachers and Features. 43 years at Hoosier Tire. And a whole lot more that I think we're going to get into today, I'm sure. But thank you for joining us. I was walking around work today and I was thinking Irish has probably encountered anybody who's been anybody in American motorsports for the last 40 or so years. So it means a lot that you said yes to this.
I tell you what, your passion for the sport is unbelievable. And I got to thank you for everything you do for local short track racing and racing in general. Mm-hmm. You do a lot for it. And there's very few of you kind of people around, so right. I really appreciate when I see this kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I agree. There is a very few kind of people like us, but I think you're one of them. So I think that's why we've gotten along in the short time that we've known each other. Yep. But I didn't know a lot about you, and we'll learn some today. One thing I do know that we have in common is that we're both South Bend Motor Speedway kids. I wore the shirt today.
Hey, you did. I see that. Was that Buck Cravens, you think?
I don't know. It could be. I don't know.
I think Ernie Nash, maybe. I don't know.
I think there was a 73 was the title on it.
That could have been the 70. I want to say it was a 77 car.
Okay.
The Streak. Do you remember that car?
I don't.
That was Mike Bingaman.
Okay.
And Mike Bingaman was my neighbor that lives right up the road.
Okay.
So yeah, he passed away a few years ago. But Mike was he was great for super modified racing back in the day. You try to tell the younger generation about super modifieds, what it was like.
I'm so curious about super modifieds because like you and Jay Freet and Pat York, all the people of that generation that experienced the super modifieds have such an affinity for them, and I just wasn't around for them. I mean, they're still around today, but obviously not to the extent they were at the time.
Right.
But yeah, that's something I'm very curious about, and something I'm bummed that I missed out on. Is the super
It was
modifieds.
great. Super Modifieds was awesome back in the day. Of course, I started out when I first went to South Bend Motor Speedway. I was 6 months old.
Uh-huh.
My dad started announcing. A gentleman by the name of Oscar Fay.
Mm-hmm.
He was a longtime sprint car driver.
Mm-hmm.
My dad was on his way to the Ed Sullivan show
Okay.
for a dog and pony show.
No
and he
kidding.
broke down in South Bend.
Okay.
He met my mom here, right?
Uh-huh.
And he was announcing a rodeo. And Oscar Fay was there, and Oscar said, "Hey, have you ever thought about announcing cars?" And my dad's like, "No, I haven't."
Yeah.
And the first race my dad announced, he called it the Swan Dive at Playland Park.
Okay.
He announced the last race at Playland Park
Wow.
over there, which you go by there, you can still see the bleachers.
Yeah,
there,
I did a video on Playland Park.
Yep, it was awesome, you know.
Yeah.
So I was around South Bend all my life, you know. Went to races. My dad announced at Hartford when it was dirt back in the day, the wide oval. And I just been around it for so many years. I mean, Denny Nyree was my childhood hero growing up, you know. Denny did so much for racing around here.
Another thing I'm bummed I missed is not being able to see Denny.
Denny was, I can tell you a quick story about Denny.
Oh, I can tell you, take your time.
Denny was, he was my childhood hero. I actually, I've got a picture of him and I want to say I was maybe 5 or 6 years old. I was presenting him a trophy at Hartford one night after he won the feature. And a lot of people don't know Denny was really badass on dirt.
Yeah,
too.
right.
Not only asphalt, but he was great on dirt too. But I'll never forget when I first hired in at Hoosier. Of course, I'd worked there during the summer when there were summer breaks at there. And Bob Newton, he called me up in his office. He goes, "How are we going to get our short track asphalt program off the ground?" I said, "You got to dial 2898661." That was Denny's number. I still remember to this day, right? And I said, "You got to get Denny to help do testing and get involved in it." And to this day, I still say it was Denny Nyree that got Hoosier where they're at today in short track asphalt racing. It was his testing. You know? So
he tested for Hoosier forever.
Yeah.
And so, how did you get involved with Bob Newton, and how did you get started at Hoosier in the first place?
Oh man, well, cat behind you.
Oh, that's fine.
Cat behind you.
That's all good.
Garage cat, right? Well, it all goes back to my dad actually worked for Bob back in the early '60s for a little bit. And I went to school with Bob's two daughters, Marge and Mary, and I went in there and started working in the summer. Dennis Sherman, who was a longtime employee there, also was kind of overseeing the dock, and they hired me in the summer to work there, and they knew that I was involved in racing. And actually, it goes back to when I was 12 years old. Louis Freeburn, that actually owned the racetrack. I used to sit up in the stands with my mom, and I had the old reel-to-reel tape recorder, and I would announce the races, right? So one day, it was one spring, it was 1972, Louis called me in the office with my dad. He goes, "Hey," he said, "I've heard you announce some of these races. How would you like to do that with your father?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "Sure, why not?" So in 1972, I started announcing out at South Bend with my dad until he retired from announcing in '76. But then I started doing, like I say, going back to the Bob Newton thing. I was there, and Bob knew everything that I was involved in racing around here locally. And then after I graduated from LaVille High School, I was working at Southside Trailer Sales, managing travel trailers and mobile home lots, right, at 18 years old. So I worked there for a couple of years, and then something happened down there, and I just didn't. Well, actually, what I did is I broke up with the boss's daughter. Right.
That'll do it. Boss.
So
that'll do it.
So yeah. So anyhow, I remember that Marge Newton said, "Hey, Dad, you need to see if you can get a hold of Irish. He knows everybody, and he would be a good fit." So I went down, and it was on New Year's Eve, and I spent 5 hours in Bob's office because they normally used to shut down for 2 weeks over the holidays, right? Okay. And Bob and I sat there for 5 hours, and we reminisced about old races, right, that went on. And next thing you know, I told him, you know, he said, wanted to know what I wanted to make. And I told him, and he goes, "Well, I got to talk to Mother," which was Joyce.
Okay.
And by the time I drove from Hoosier to my house that I lived at here today, 2 miles, the phone rang, and it was Bob, and he says, "Can you start Monday morning?" So that's how I started with Bob. Started doing dirt stuff at first, and then went on to the asphalt with Terry, his son.
Okay.
And man, just the rest is history. I had a great opportunity to help Hoosier when we were in Cup back in '88 and '89. Never forget. There's a picture up on the wall there that guy in that Folgers car, that Ken Schrader there.
Sure.
He was on the pole in 1989. That's the year that Goodyear pulled out.
Right. Yes.
And he was on the pole of that race. And Darrell Waltrip won the race
Yep.
on Hoosiers,
Tide
right?
car. Yep. Icky Shuffle.
Icky Shuffle. Yep. He did. He did that. Very good. And but then I got a chance to go back when we decided we were going to go back in 1994 after we had radial equipment
Right.
to start building radials for him,
Uh-huh.
and work with Jeff Bodine. And Jeff Bodine, again, he was a very, very good tester.
Mm-hmm.
We had a great team.
Yeah.
A great team. The compounders, the engineer, that's the team that made it work so well, you know. And we were all passionate about it. I'll never forget, like, your week would proceed. It would be like you're in the office on Monday, 5 o'clock in the morning. Bob had his own twin engine plane. We'd be wheels up at 5 a.m., going to test somewhere on a Tuesday, get back home, decide what we were going to run at that track, put the order in to what we needed to bring, because we had to bring, gosh, I want to say it was, I can't remember the exact amount, but it was astronomical amount of tires we had to bring for every single race.
Yeah.
Because let's say that if Goodyear had a problem, or Hoosier had a problem, and they had to withdraw their tires, you'd have to have enough tires to field the whole field.
And this is 94, or this is
94.
Okay.
This is 94. So anyhow, we did that and won our share of races in that first Brickyard.
Yeah.
Man, I think we tested like 4 or 5 times at the Brickyard for that race. And
Bodine could have won that one.
Yeah, I know. The two brothers. Jeff and Brett.
Brett didn't help you.
Yeah, no. And it was. I knew we were really good. That because Rick Mast was on the pole on Hoosier, so I knew we were going to be really good, you know, for that race. And that's one that I wish would have never got away.
Yeah,
you know?
for sure.
But my buddy Jeff won it. Gordon, he won the race.
Yeah.
And you know, I mean, goes back to, I remember Jeff when he was 13 years old, and Buju, he shows up, and we're at Tampa, down there at Tampa at the sprint car races at East Bay. And this kid comes walking up, and he's got a big uniform on. His sleeves are down over his hands, and his hat is down over his ears. And he introduced him, saying, "Mr. Saunders," he says, "my name's Jeff Gordon. And I'm going to be one of the best race car drivers you ever saw someday."
Oh.
Okay, that's great. I met his dad, John Bickford, and his mom, Carol. Great people, too. And Jeff really, you know.
Yeah, he called a shot.
He called it. He was spot on, you know. And then there was this other kid from Columbus, my little brother, that I knew him when he was like 12 years old, 13 years old. And I used to take him with me to races.
Yeah.
I'd sneak him into races.
That's the story I always heard.
You
I
know?
never knew if it was true or not, but it's sneaking in the Hoosier van, right?
Yep, in the Hoosier van, under some tires, get underneath there, kid, you know. He'd stay with me in the hotel room, you know, and I'll never forget, there was Larry Howard was a guy's name. He had midgets that won all the Ascot Turkey Night Grand Prix, right? And we get there, we're at the Hoosier 100, and I take Tony there. And we go up on top of the trailer. Larry's on top of the trailer, and we're watching practice, you know. And I said, "Hey, LHR, Larry Howard Racing," right? I said, "Hey, LHR," I said, "I want you to meet this young man." I said, "Tony Stewart." I said, "He's running some micros right now and some TQs, and I said, he's pretty good." He goes, "Yeah, Irish, I bet you're going to tell me he's going to be better than Jeff, or the next Jeff Gordon."
Yeah.
I said, "No." I said, "He's going to be better than Jeff Gordon." You know? And all the whole time that Tony was going through this, I always told him, I said, "Hey, don't forget where you came from. Because as you're going up the ladder of success," I said, "you're going to see people on the way down. You'll come down someday." And he never has.
Right.
You know, he never has. And he's been such a great family friend.
Yeah.
When Eric got hurt, he got paralyzed, he was one of the first ones that told me to get a hold of Terry Trammell, the doctor. And he lined a bunch of stuff up for me. He was unbelievable.
Yeah, track position gave me the opportunity. When I got back in traffic, I was in really bad shape, and this one is for my buddy Eric Saunders, who's in Indianapolis. He got hurt really bad in a motocross crash, and he's up in Indianapolis healing, and he's paralyzed right now, but he's one of the toughest young guys I know. So Eric, buddy, this one's for you, pal. So Steve.
Yeah, him, Pastrana, and others helped get the house ready for Eric to come home as well.
Yeah. Pastrana was again, TP, he was a dandy.
Yeah.
I mean, he was good, you know. And actually, I got Travis in his first 4-wheel race. It was a Silver Crown race down at Lakeland.
That's a way to start.
Yeah, so we put him in a Silver Crown race because somebody had some kind of injury. I think he had a back injury or something. He couldn't run it. I said, "TP, you want to run this thing?" "Sure, why not?"
Yeah, he's not gonna say no.
Yeah, right. And I'll never forget that they were having an autograph session. And Stewart's like, "Oh God, I don't want to go do this autograph day." He said, "Well, Pastrana already went down there." He goes, "Oh, great." He said, "If I don't show up there, I'm going to be the no good SB, right?" So yeah, I mean, he started out with that, and you know, he worked his way up. Actually, if you look up on the picture there somewhere on the wall over there, you can see Ricky Carmichael when he ran the ARCA race down at Daytona.
Yeah.
So RC had gotten in it too. So I mean, it was a lot of great times.
That's what was making me laugh the last time I stopped in here last week for a few minutes. I was talking to you and Garrett out front. And you said, "So that's really the first time you met Stewart?" Yeah, Irish. That's the first time I met Tony Stewart.
He's an awesome guy, and a lot of people are like, "Why don't you introduce me to him?" Well, just go up and talk to him. He's not going to bite, you know. I mean, I will tell you one thing about him: when he's racing,
for sure,
leave him alone.
I think that's for anybody.
But when he's not racing, he's kind of socializing with other people. That's the time to go talk.
Yeah.
To him. But when he gets to a race, he is 100% focused on one thing, and that's winning.
Has he always been? Is he still the same Tony Stewart that you met at 12 years old? And as far as his drive and his focus goes his
mentality, his mentality, it's the same as 12 years old. Yeah, he's the same.
As far as racing goes.
Racing. Yeah. You know, I got to go back to Jeff. There was a night, it was 1989, and we were at Salem, and Rich Vogler got killed that night, and it was really weird because Glenn Nibel, who owned the V6, the 20 car that won all those little 500s, he had passed out, and they took him to the hospital earlier that night. And then this happened with Rich.
Right.
And then we find out that Rich passed away. And I was to the point where it's like, I called Bob and Joyce, and Joyce is like, "Do not drive home."
Yeah.
So I was a wreck. I was a wreck. I mean, that was the closest that I wanted to get out of racing ever, because Rich was a very close friend of mine. But there was some kid from Pittsburgh that just got his learner's permit. And his mom and dad said, "He can drive you up to our house. You stay at our house tonight."
Yeah.
And that was Jeff Gordon.
Yeah.
And John and Carol Bickford. I stayed with them that night. And it was Rich Vogler was man, he was awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a racer's racer. He gave 100%. And he even says in his interview, he says, "I go out to win every race, whether it's hot laps, qualifying, heat race.
Right.
You know, I go there to win."
Yeah.
And Rich was so blood purple that he never, ever badmouthed the tires ever.
Really?
But if there was a problem, you can bet your bottom dollar that you'd get a phone call. "Hey, I'm flying my plane into Plymouth. I want to go over and talk to the engineers." And we'd go down, pick him up at the airport, take him out over the plant in Plymouth.
Yeah.
And he would sit down and he'd discuss, you know, what I'd like to do. He was a big help, huge help.
Fixing the problem instead of
complaining about the problem.
Right.
There's a lot of those guys out there.
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
And not everybody's a Rich Vogler where they can fly to the office and maybe have the influence. But it's an example in helping instead of just opening your mouth.
Exactly.
Hoping for the best.
Exactly, 100%.
But like I said, a long history in racing. You've met a lot of names, and you touched on the tire war and the '89 and '94. One of the questions I wanted to ask you is, like you mentioned, the '89 500, and Hoosier obviously started in NASCAR in '88, right? Was Hoosier ready for it at the time, or was that just was that Bob trying to make a splash?
I think we were ready. You know, we were ready for it. When they came out with the radio, we didn't have the radio capacity. We had bias ply capacity, you know. But Bob was ready for it, and I'll never forget the day that Daytona.
Sorry to interrupt you. Did you know Goodyear was coming with the radio?
We had heard. We had heard they were, and we said, "Well, we'll see how good this really is."
Right.
You know? And they was good. They had a good tire, you know, and we had to step our game up. You know, had to get a bunch of equipment, invest a lot into the company to build a good radial. You know?
Right.
But I'll never forget in '89, we were back at the hotel. It was Dennis Sherman, Terry Newton, Bob Newton, and myself. And Bill France calls.
Okay.
And he says, "Bob," he said, "I want you to know something. I think Goodyear is going to pull out of the Daytona 500. Do you have enough tires, and do you have the capability of handling the whole field?" Bob said, "Yes, we do." And the three of us, the other guys, we all looked at each other like, "What? What did you just say?" So we were actually shuttling tires down every day to Daytona. Yeah.
How far out was that?
Oh God! Well, it was the day up. I mean, it was going on. I mean, it was like the first day of practice.
Oh, okay, yeah. So
it happened right then. So we made it work. Again, the employees at Hoosier were so, I could say, bleeding purple. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, they do whatever it took to get the job done.
Right.
You know, they were so passionate about what they did, and everybody's from compounding, engineering, you know, to the factory workers, to people loading the trucks. I mean, everybody jumped on board and made that thing happen.
Right.
And it was amazing what they did.
Yeah. And then you ended up, I tried to get in '94, but ultimately decided that the short track program is what your passion was.
Yeah,
You wanted to go back to the short. Why was that the short
Well,
tracks drew you back?
Well, the short tracks. I mean, Bob was a short track racer
Sure,
himself, and short track racing was our DNA.
Yeah.
We cared. Bob cared about the racer probably better than he cared about himself. And he always wanted to give a quality product to every of the competitors that were out there, and we strived all the time to, okay, we hear that at XYZ track they got a little bit of a problem here. Okay, that could be a particular track that something happened, they repaved or they did something right, but we would go ahead and go test to try to get that product better for them. So because the one thing, Buju, that I look at, that racing for majority of these people, it's a hobby.
Yeah.
And hobbies have to be, number one, fun, and number two, affordable. And if one of those two things go away, they're going to find another hobby to do, right?
Yeah.
So that was always my take on motorsports. You got to make it fun and affordable.
Yeah. And in a lot of cases, it is not right now.
Yeah, it is. I mean, that's like, you've seen with the All-Star Midget Series that we've got.
Sure.
We've kept kind of kept a lid on it, kind of patterned ourselves after the IMCA series where they have a claim rule on the engines. So, I mean, we've seen it.
Right.
I mean, it used to be they had the Volkswagens, right, back in the day with midgets. And now they've got $60,000, $70,000 four-cylinder Toyotas.
Yeah.
There's only a handful of people that can afford to do that,
Right.
But with this here, having a claim rule of $17,000 for the engine, and you can claim it, claim a guy's engine, you have to put the protest up before the feature.
Right.
And if he declines and wants to withdraw from the feature, he just told on himself that he's got more than 17 grand. Right.
Yeah.
So it's a good pattern looking at. I'll never forget Randy Sweet. And I don't know if you even knew this. Did you know Randy Sweet worked for Bob Newton back in the 70s?
I don't think I did.
Yeah, Randy Sweet, the triple disc clutches.
Okay.
Hoosier triple disc clutch. That was Randy.
Okay, that makes sense.
So Randy, Randy, I can remember. Oh man, I remember one time we were going over to New Paris, and Randy had a black Ford van. He used to pull his race car behind it, and there was this hitchhiker down the road. So Randy pulls over. He says, "You want to ride?" Guy's like, "Yeah." He says, "Get in the car." Guy goes to get in the van. He goes, "No, the car." Randy put him in the race car on the trailer, on the open trailer, and we took him to wherever he had. We dropped him off.
That's awesome.
So yeah, we did that, and but Randy again, he was one that I'll never forget. That he said that rules. He says, and I still say it to this day, to make intelligent rules on racing, you have to do the three things: race them, work on them, and the most important one is write the checks for them.
Yeah.
Then you can make intelligent decisions. Because like Randy said, he says, well, they're going to make a shock change. They're going to make a shock rule. Well, what's the guy do with all these shocks that he's already had?
Yeah.
Right? What are you supposed to do there?
Right.
Randy always said that to make things equal in racing, two things that didn't cost money: air and weight. Those are the two things. I'll never forget him saying that.
I think that's a lot of the problem, and I come more from the weekly track world, obviously. You've bounced around a little more than I did, but I think that's what killed, and obviously there's other factors, but car counts and the way and rules getting out of hand was tracks trying to placate to the 3 or 4 guys that said they were going to come if they changed the rule, and then one of those guys might show up 1 or 2 times for the year, but then you lost the 7 or 8 guys that can't keep up anymore because they can't afford the new shocks.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. That cost has definitely been a problem.
Yeah.
I think also the thing of it is that what the biggest problem is? Who do you get to come in here and work on these things?
No, yeah,
It used to be back in the day, you could go over to Denny's shop and there'd be 4 or 5 guys over there, and they get done with their work and they sit around and have a few beers.
Yeah.
Right? Now you got to pay people to come and work on stuff. And being a turnaround, I mean, I went to the World of Outlaws show up at Hartford. Had to be a few weeks ago, or maybe it was a month or so ago, right? And I saw David Gravel, and I saw Shotzi, and I saw Hod and Shield, and they all are just doom and gloom.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, what is the problem? He goes, the problem is, we have no time to spend with our families. All we're doing is race.
The dirt schedule's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy to do that thing. I mean, you have no other outside life, Even the Cup guys, you look at the Cup guys, I mean, Ryan Preece is a very good friend of mine, and Heather, his wife, they got horses, and he's now got a son, Bentley, and he also has his daughter, Rebecca, his daughter. And I mean, he's another one. I mean, he's on the go all the time. Now this weekend, he's going to be up at Loudon racing his modified, which he loves racing modifieds. That's where I met him at.
Another true short track guy, right?
Yeah, he really is. He's a super good, down to earth guy. I'll never forget when I saw him at Thompson, Connecticut at a modified race. And he said, Irish, he said, I need your help. I said, what do you need? He goes, could you get me in that Stewart Haas car? He says, I got some sponsorship I can bring along. I said, I'll make a call. So I called Tony and said, hey, I said, Ryan Preece. He goes, what do you think? I said, I think he'd do good. I said, he's engaged in it. He works on his own stuff. He doesn't sit back in a chair and say, well, go ahead and fix that for me and I'll tell you everything you're doing wrong. Right? So he got into Stewart Haas and it was really good.
Yeah. Ended up winning was it this year he won the Clash? Was that last year he won the Clash?
This year he won the Clash, with RFK,
Exciting. So like I said, I have an extra respect for the true short track guys like a Stewart or a Preece or and I'm sure you do too.
Absolutely, 100%. I told Ryan, I said, you know what? I said, I got to call Keselowski. I said, you need to get in one of these midgets or some of the short track stuff, which he has in the past, you know, but so you need to get in one of these midgets. And some of these guys, they won't let them get in them, you know.
Right. Yeah. No fun. The no fun police over there in NASCAR.
I know. Put a dampener on it, right?
So I could just start throwing names at you and getting stories. That could be my strategy here. But we had the Bentley Warren Classic at Plymouth a few weeks ago, and I know Bentley Warren is another name that means a lot to you. So
BW was, I'll never forget. I mean, I knew him. He was driving the Flying Five, Tom Bally, and Tom Bally was actually there at the race. He came out from the East Coast, and they had the 5-car, and he was on a Goodyear deal. And once in a while, I'd be able to get Bentley to put some test tires on and do some testing with him. And he'd go like, as he would say, wicked fast, right? And he'd blister him. He goes, oh, this ain't going to work. This ain't going to work. Well, I'm sure he was trying to protect their Goodyear program, right? So then one day, a driver by the name of Doug Hebron, I don't know if you remember that name or not, but Dougie, I saw Dougie at Sandusky. We were at a race there, and we were down the bar, and Dougie was there, and we were talking. He said, he says, what are you doing with these tires? I said, Doug, I said, I got to get somebody else on them from up in Oswego, you know, because I had Doug Saunders on them, and Doug Saunders was going really good over at Sandusky and Lorraine. He was winning races over there, but I didn't have that Oswego guy. So he looked at me and he says, bring 4 of them things down. He said, we'll bolt them on and we'll run them at Sandusky on Sunday. I did, and Doug ran really good. Well, Dougie and Bentley were teammates, right, with Tom Hebron when they were there. And Dougie reached out to Bentley and says, you need to look at these. So Bentley called me one day. He goes, see if we can get a test at Oswego. Well, they never, ever would let anybody test at Oswego back in the day. Really? Caruso's owned it. And Roger and Linda Holderman, well, actually it was Linda O'Brien back then, she made it happen. And I'll never forget, we went up there, and Eddie Bellinger was there also, right? And the old man, not the kid, right? But the old man. And if you were on Goodyears, you could run 17.2s, right? Pretty consistent, right? We go there and we run 16.80s. So all the engineers and the compounders and me, we're all high-fiving.
Yeah.
And Bentley walks up to me and says, I want you to remember one thing. The faster you go, the harder it is to pass,
Absolutely.
and the narrower the track gets.
Absolutely.
He goes, speed is for drag strips.
Yes.
And you know,
preach. I love that.
You know, and you know, the thing about it is, Buju, you look at let's look at World of Outlaw racing, for example, right? Dirt racing. When that track is hammered down and they're running wide open, nobody passes.
Yep.
The minute it slicks off, gets slower, you got side by side racing, you got slide jobs going on, and the racing gets better.
Yeah, I think it's the same thing on asphalt. Even I went to, and I don't like bashing races. I mean, I enjoy cars going in circles at all times, but I went down to the All-American 400 in Nashville this year, the super race. And I mean, like I said, I enjoyed it, but it was a single file parade because they're flying around Nashville.
Yeah, exactly.
Now I go to Plymouth or I go to Kalamazoo or I go to New Paris and I watch a street stock race. I'm in for a good time.
Yeah, exactly.
You slow those cars down, put some weight in them, and all of a sudden we got a race.
Yeah, it is. It's amazing. That, I mean, and of course they always want to have tire fall off. Yeah. And that's great for the big races to have some tire fall off, right? But you have to remember who your customer is.
Exactly.
Is your customer that guy can afford to buy 3 sets, or can he only buy one tire?
Right. Your customer probably owns a lawn mowing business or is clocking in at the trailer factory.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. 100%.
They're not doing this for a living, unfortunately, as much as they'd love to be doing it.
Right.
They are.
Exactly.
So how did you get involved in this midget stuff, the All-Star National Pavement Midget? I know you're having a good time with it. You seem very excited about the series.
Well, you know, Eric and Garrett, we go back to, Plymouth. We had Plymouth, then it was dirt, right? I mean, we ran one year on asphalt, and we tried to run on Friday nights, and Friday nights just didn't work because people had a hard time getting off work, and they had a hard time, getting there. The employees had a hard time getting there, and I'll never forget. It was Ed Kennedy and myself and Tony, and we were at Daytona. And Tony's like, "You got to put dirt on that place." It's like, "I'm an asphalt guy." He says, "You're going to be a broke asphalt guy if you don't do something."
Sure.
You know. And Ed's like, "I'll make a deal. We'll put a small little dirt track on the inside of the asphalt track if you'll come and run a 410 race at the end of the year." Stewart put his hand
A
out.
410 race on the infield track.
It was. It was.
Okay.
And so he showed up and he ran it, and you couldn't script it any better. Tony wins the race, and the place was packed that night, right? I mean, it was absolutely packed that night. And I'll never forget that Tony. He said, I've never raced a sprint car, a 410 on this small of a track.
Yeah.
It was a great race. I mean, they were in traffic right away. I mean,
yeah.
it was unreal. And he said, but when I come back next year and the big track's got dirt on it, he said, I'm going to be a happy camper. It's like, well, he made up my mind. So we put dirt on the thing.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, Eric and Garrett, my youngest son, Garrett, he didn't want anything to do with moto. Eric was, he just turned pro, and he ran moto since he was 5 years old, right? Yeah. And he just turned pro, and it was the day before his 18th birthday. He's coming up on August 29th. On the 28th, he got paralyzed in 2010. And my youngest son, Garrett, wanted nothing to do with moto. We put him in a front wheel drive one time when it was asphalt down at Plymouth, and Garrett won his first night out. I'm like, where the hell did this come from?
Right.
And I wasn't there.
Yeah.
I get a phone call, and they were telling me that he won. You know, I'm like, oh my God, okay. So he's become very good at working on cars, and we got into the micros.
Yeah.
A gentleman by the name of Dave Bice. Well, actually, we'll go back to Tracy Trotter that owns Calico Coating. He was the one that got the micro for Eric to get started again.
Okay.
Mike Fedorchuk and Randy Sweet is the ones that designed the hand controls.
Okay.
And they put them in there, and both of them started running micros, and then we had a class going back to the cost. World Racing Group tried to do a 602 crate engine, right? And it was a full-blown sprint car with crate engines, and Eric and Garrett, they both ran it, and they would win a lot of the races. But I had, again, so many resources. If I needed something, I could call Doug Wolfgang. I could call Sammy Swindell, ask them different things that I would be doing, right? It was really, really nice. But that engine was a $5,500 engine, and we never even put valve springs in it for 4 years.
Really?
And we won races and championships with it, right? Really? But again, it got they're 2 seconds slower than a 410. Who cares?
Exactly. Yeah.
You can afford to run these things, right? So anyhow, they ended up doing. We got out of that, and then they started running 360s with the GLSS series.
Sure.
And it got to the point where it was a lot to travel, and maintain. And they went to American Racer tires. And all my years at Hoosier, I just couldn't see putting American Racer.
I hear you. I still couldn't stomach it.
Yeah, it was tough. It would be tough for me to do. So anyhow, we got involved in these midgets. David Ward, that owns High Performance Lubricants over there, had some cars that Garrett drove, and Tracy Trotter had these cars sitting down there because he ran Focus cars, and he said, "Come down and get these cars." Yeah. And we just started getting involved in this Focus deal, and it's been taking off.
Yeah. I've been enjoying sitting here looking at the race cars. I'm always distracted. It's like a shiny object for a squirrel or whatever. I can just sit here and stare at the cars forever. But I've said it on the show. I grew up a stock car kid. I grew up in South Bend, so I saw street stocks and mini stocks and thunder cars.
Yeah.
When I saw open wheel racing, it was the Haas Sprints coming to South Bend. That was about the extent of it.
Yep.
And then as I grew older, and as you've mentioned, those car counts and some of those traveling series thinned out and everything, I didn't have necessarily the highest opinion of short track open wheel racing because it's boring. It gets spread out.
Sure.
It's too fast a lot of the times.
Yep.
So this year, the two midget shows are planned at Plymouth, and the National Compacts were on that first show, and my family races front wheel drive, so we get booked on that show, or we're racing that show.
Yep.
And honestly, that first midget race blew me away. How competitive it was. For one, I don't remember the car count for the first one.
We had 24 because they had 34 at Raceway Park on Thursday. But here again, Buju, like I said, you had to do a turnaround in 1 day. From 34, we only had 24, so we lost 10 cars.
Only 24.
Yeah, we only had 24,
Yeah. And it was 30 for the second show.
Yeah, and it was 30 for the second show, the Bentley Warren race. We had 30 there. And Hornets, I got to shout out for those guys.
Yeah.
They supported this thing, and
Mhm.
thanks to Blunt's Auto Salvage, little Bob, for
Yeah.
putting that money up. And
Sure.
we had 42 front wheel drive Hornets there, you know.
Yeah, on a
which was
Thursday.
awesome. On a Thursday, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, pretty impressive. But yeah, like I said, I was just blown away by the product on the track, and I wouldn't say it if I didn't mean it. Cause like I said, I've never been the biggest, and I've been delving into that side more in the open wheel stuff these days, anyway, as far as history goes, and I guess the bigger series. But I was genuinely blown away by the All-Star Pavement Midget Series and what I've seen on the track so far.
Yeah, it's been really good. We had 4 races, and some of them got rained out
Yeah.
at Raceway Park. Anderson, they got rained out, but they rebooked for October 10th, and then they come back the following Saturday on the 18th and run at Lucas Oil Raceway Park. That's their final 2 shows.
Yeah.
But we made sure that this thing didn't. We wanted to keep a 3-hour radius of Indianapolis, and Indianapolis being the hub. Outside of that, and go to shows that were there. It's very affordable for a promoter to handle it, right? And just that's the game plan for next year too. And I can see it growing into more. There's more and more people that are. I mean, here you got Jaden Kratacci, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he rented a car for that race, and the next day, what'd you see?
Yeah,
his car's for sale.
Late models are for sale.
But he had a blast,
Yeah,
and like he said, he goes, you don't race them to death. He said it's a fraction of the cost of what I paid for my late models, you know. So he's looking for a car now.
Yeah, and I mean, I think we've had this conversation too. But if you go around weekly tracks and you look at the stands on a regular show, on a weekly, 5-class scheduled night or whatever it is, the stands are empty, and that's everywhere. It's not just one track.
Yeah.
People are wanting these big shows, and when you can put an 8-race schedule together, and maybe it gives tracks an opportunity to work together if we cut those schedules down.
Yeah. I tried that a few years back out at Swan Lake. I had everybody come out there and kind of talk, and they were like, yeah, we're fist pumping. Yeah, we need to work together. They all got back, and nothing really happened. But I learned a lot from Supercross. If you sit and watch Supercross, you know that they make every rider sit there, and they have an open pit party. Every rider has to sit there and sign autographs for 1 hour.
Yeah.
And everybody wants to be engaged. I mean, you look at the autograph line at Plymouth the other night.
Yes.
I mean, people want to get their picture with, Leah Pruitt or Tony or Bentley Warren or
Schrader,
Ray Dillon.
Yeah.
Even Ray Dillon being there, So you have to make it an event.
Yeah.
The first race we had down there, we brought Elliot Miller with the Monster Truck Throwdown. Brought some monster trucks in there, right? And the crowd was really good that night for that too. But you got to bring more than just racing.
Yeah.
You got to make it an event.
Yeah, I've heard you say nobody wants to see the same movie every week.
No, and Howard Bice, Dave Bice, that they owned a villa, he said that. And that Dave, and I believe that 100%. That's what he said.
That's something else I missed out on, was a villa. I never got to go to a villa while I was around.
Well, here again, think about that track. It was asphalt. Howard got tired of the same movie, so he put dirt on it. And he got tired of that movie, so he took it back off and put it back to asphalt.
Yeah.
But it was the Bices were very, very good for motorsports.
Yeah.
Dave actually was the crew chief for Eric on his micro when he was winning those races.
No kidding.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah. And so you mentioned Eric's accent. I don't want to dwell on it too much because I know you've talked about it quite a bit. But I can't imagine that feeling as a father. I mean, it has to be an all-time low. You get that call and the uncertainty of it all, and then you get to the point where Eric is pulling back in victory lane at a track that means a lot to you. You know what I mean? I can't imagine the feeling of that trajectory from up here where Eric was in motocross, and then the accident, and then back to
he was Sheila, my wife, was working for Pat Blunt down at the concessions, right? And I was down there for a race. I think it was a CRA race they were having down there, and I was there for Hoosier that night in Plymouth. And our mechanic was here for Eric, and we had our test track out back here that we did our own test and everything for moto. And he calls me, he says, "You better get up here. Eric's been hurt." So by the time we hauled butt up here from Plymouth, got here, they were already loading him. Lakeville ambulance back then, which I'm glad that Lakeville's got their ambulance back again.
Right.
But they had him loaded in the ambulance and was taking him to Memorial, right? We followed him up there. And I'll never forget, the doctor came into a small little room to Sheila and I and said, Eric's injuries have been so severe that he may never walk again. So okay, what do we do? well, we want to airlift him to Methodist in Indianapolis. So I called Tony,
Mm-hmm.
and Tony's like, let me get a hold of Terry Trammell. So Terry Trammell called me. Terry was at an IndyCar race in Chicago,
Mm-hmm.
and he says, I can't get there now. I'm up here, but he said, I'll be there at 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. So we get into Methodist, and I didn't know that. I mean, here's Eric. It's the day before his 18th birthday. This happens. And we're thinking, Sheila or I, one of us are going to ride in a helicopter. Well, we couldn't.
Wow.
So we had to drive down
Yeah.
to Indianapolis and go to Methodist. And the next day at 1 o'clock, here comes Terry Trammell walking in the deal. And he says, what's going on? And shows him everything. He goes, okay. He said, they're doing the right stuff. I says, can you operate on him, Terry? He goes, I have no privileges because he owned Ortho Indy, which was kind of competition with Methodist.
Yeah.
So he couldn't operate, but he was a big help. And I still talk to Terry to this day once in a while when I need his advice on something, you know. But yeah, to see that happen to your child, you know, it was so cool to watch him race. And Buju, I'll tell you, like 2 weeks before that, I was watching him out here because I used to love to get on the dozer and be grooming the track while he's out practicing, right? I'm watching him like, man, he is hauling ass. I said, one of these days, I said, it's gonna be a bad one. And what it was that happened is we had all the right safety stuff. We actually had, it was called a Liette brace. It went around your neck to prevent your neck, but it had a piece that went down the middle of your back. And when his head went back, it got into his T5 and T6 and gave him a fracture separation from his chest down. So, so we did everything we could, right? I mean, I'm just lucky that he's still alive to this day to do, and he never gave up. He never gave up. I mean, you've sat and talked to him before. You know, he can. He's got a lot of dreams and a lot of things that he's got going on.
Sure.
You know? And Garrett, I mean, he doesn't get near the credit. You know? And of course, my daughter Nicole, she was the oldest sister that she went along with the brothers and the family.
She had to deal with the two younger brothers.
She had to deal with the two younger brothers, you know. But Nicole did great. You know, she was awesome. Still is. You know. So.
And Garrett made the little 500 field, which is an accomplishment in itself.
Yeah, he's run it 3 years now, and we're working on a program for next year. Tracy Trotter and Craig Brooks and a Chevrolet trying to work something out with Chevrolet. Eric wants to run the little 500.
Oh yeah.
So he said I could be the first paraplegic to run the little 500. And obviously we'll get a hold of Dave Sharpley from Sharp Seats, you know, and get a good seat in there for him because you know he can't feel if he was getting a pressure sore or whatever it was, you know. So we'll get all the right equipment in there for him and let him go at it for 500 laps. That's a vacation for me. It's a vacation. You go down there, you get to see Rick Dawson.
That's something I haven't been to yet.
Oh, you're going this year.
Oh, sounds good.
You're going this
sounds
year.
good.
Trust me. You might even have to change a tire.
Hey, whatever gets me there. Yeah, that's always been a dream for sure. Just something I haven't made it to.
That's
yet,
awesome.
So
Starting 33 cars, 3 wide.
Yeah,
place.
insane. And I've been to Anderson for other races, and it's a badass racetrack. And I can't imagine 33 sprint cars.
Oh, it's unreal. And Tyler Rourke, I mean, he's got that deal.
Badass.
Tyler's
what a wheel man, huh?
Yeah, he is good. Tyler's very good. We used him for tire testing. I used him quite a bit for tire testing. He had very good feedback, you know, and his family goes back to his Uncle Dave, you know. And Dave was back to the super modified days, right? With the Klein Motor Special 24, you know. That was those were the days.
And JR, a hell of a racer too.
Oh, JR was good. Yeah, JR was good. And Stan, you know, Stan was he was awesome too, you know.
Yeah. Just I love a racing family. You guys are one, the Rourks are one. I'm part of one. And like I said, I think people that love racing are kind of drawn together, and I think that's why this friendship is going to work so well.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to doing a little 500 with my new friends.
No, it'll be good. It'll be good.
And I want to circle back to Stewart and the midgets. One thing I want to touch on too is, and I talked about if he still has that same drive that he did when you met him all those years ago. He showed up to that midget race on a Thursday, and like I said, he's not even focused on circle track racing all that much anymore, but he put himself on top of the board in the midgets. It's unbelievable.
Well, you know, we went there Wednesday.
Sure.
Leah got in the car, right? And he's motioning like this for her to get going. She thought he meant come on in. So she started coming. No, go faster. She was running just what she felt comfortable running, you know. But yeah, he's still man, I'd take him any day of the week. He's just he just adapts Buju so well to anything he gets in. He's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
He jumped into the drag race and stuff. I was like, oh, this will be a fun, little kind of retirement thing. And now he's just going to go be a champion.
Oh, he is. And when he first did it, he goes, the thing takes off. He said, the car is way faster than my brain is. My brain's still back here, and the car's there, And I had to ask him, and Leah's the only one that could answer this. I said, do you ever breathe during that run? God, I don't know.
Yeah, good question.
Leah said, what I do, she says, when I get ready to go, get in staging, she says, I just exhale and go.
Wow.
So Leah's the only one that's told me this.
Yeah.
Not Tony.
Yeah.
But we had, we've got a lot of good people in this midget group. Tony Pendergon, he was there.
Yeah, his son's racing in the series now. Desi.
He's got Desi, his son's racing midgets too, and Catherine Legg, she has showed interest that she wants to run a car next year, and so has Sarah Fisher.
Wow.
Which her husband is Andy O'Gara, which is Kyle O'Gara's brother.
Okay,
right?
didn't know that.
So they've looked at Sarah possibly getting in a midget and running a midget next year.
Gotcha. That would be really cool.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's like you said, it's affordable. It's a good quality. I want to say close race. It's close racing. It's a good product. It's exciting to watch.
It is,
and I'd imagine it's fun.
It's fun, and you know what? It's not a job.
Yeah,
it's not a job. You got time to regroup financially, physically.
Yeah,
you got time to regroup.
Right.
Improve,
So, you looking at a similar schedule next year?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. Talking to
new
David
tracks,
Ward,
maybe, or
maybe a couple. I know that Chris and Tracy over at New Paris, they reached out about doing that, which I think that'd be good there. I think probably get a hold of Randy Ritchie, maybe at Kalamazoo.
Awesome.
I think that'd be a good place to run there. Of course, they had in the drivers' meeting, Buju. They said, "How many of you drivers would want to go to Winchester?" Because Dan Redmond would love, and Steve Ward would love, and there was only 4 drivers raise their hand, and those 4 drivers are drivers that's got experience.
Yeah,
I mean, Winchester is one of them racetracks where you're one blown motor or one crash from being out of season for the rest of the year.
Heavy consequences.
Oh yeah. And then there'll be some other ones. And Speedrome, I was really kind of disappointed. The Speedrome, they were wanting me to get some sponsorship for them to run that race. And finally, I had to tell them, I said, if I'm going to get sponsorship, I'm going to get it from my races, not theirs. So I was kind of disappointed that we didn't run there because that was the original Thursday Night Thunder, they were going to do. But there again, it was going to be a Thursday night there and then go right over to Anderson on Saturday. So that would have been a quick turnaround. So if anybody had any problem, it would have been hard to make it.
Yeah, fair enough. Yep. Well, Irish, I appreciate you joining me today. I don't want to keep you too long. This has been fun. I think we'll probably have to do this again sometime. I know you got a lot more stories locked in there.
There's a few.
Yeah, I'll give you one more name. We'll get one more story. Let me throw a name out here. Let's do. How about Mark Martin?
Mark Martin. Well, he's up at Bentley Saloon.
I saw the book signing.
Yeah, he's doing the book signing, and I tried to get him to come up here. Because Bentley and him, in the wintertime, they both take their Prevos out there in Southern California. And that's where they stay over there.
They're living a life with those RVs.
So I can remember Mark. I can remember Mark when he lived over in North Liberty with Banjo, his crew chief, right? And working with Ray Dillon, And it was really funny. I didn't know this, but bring up a Ray Dillon story real quick.
Sure, yeah.
Ray stops over here one night, and he's in the shop, and I said, I said, Pancho Carter's going to be there. He said, Pancho Carter? I said, yeah. He says, he drove for me the green weenie. I'm like, the green weenie? Yeah, the V6 that they had. Right?
Okay.
And he said he wrecked it on Friday, brought it back from Michigan, fixed it Friday night. Ray said he got into Michigan. They had to do a police escort to get him up there in time. And then I think he wrecked it again.
There you go.
So, but yeah, Pancho was there too. Pancho and his wife, they came, and it was great to see him there too. And the Kenyans. I mean, Mel,
93 years old.
93,
I think he was awesome.
He's around good. And Don's 91, and man,
still with the blue 3K racing jacket on, dude.
I know.
Awesome.
That was so. And then Ryan did Newman did the throwback card for them, and I think Ryan's daughter's going to be pretty good too.
I think so too. Yeah,
I'll tell you the one that I'm really impressed with, and you better jump on the bandwagon right now.
Tell me.
That's Keelan Harvick.
Oh, absolutely. I heard the All-American 400.
Yeah, I told Kevin. I told Kevin the other day. I said, Kevin, I don't know who taught him to do this. It couldn't have been you. It had to be Delana, And he said, yeah, it was Delana.
He was a little more patience than young Kevin did.
Yeah. But I said, why don't we put Keelan in a midget? He said, Delana wouldn't go for that.
No.
Not at all. I said,
going to go over a little too easy for Delana.
It wouldn't be too good.
Yeah.
So, but the other one too, Justin Allgaier.
Yeah.
I remember Justin when he first started running it's back in the Kenyan midgets that they had. Glenn Nibel. I think there's a picture.
Well, we're gonna have to
somewhere.
do some video of the shop here because you got the
There's some
Saunders
pictures up there.
Museum.
Yeah, there's some pictures there. Glenn Nibel with Justin when he was a kid.
Yeah, we'll have to do a little quick shop tour after the
Yeah.
interview here. But
And that he did that. And Justin, his dad, Mike Algeier, owns Hoosier Tire
Yep.
Midwest.
Yeah.
And they are such good friends. And there again, Justin never forgot where he came from either. I mean,
Yeah.
I really like it whenever he used to go out and run his dirt car. Schrader does it, Wallace does it now. Those guys, that's just awesome.
Yeah, it is. I like I said, I'm drawn to those guys. The anywhere, anytime, anything. Schrader won a damn figure 8 bus race.
I know. I saw that. And Buju, what was crazy is Schrader originally we talked about coming down here and running this race with Bentley, and then just so happens he called and he goes, "Hey, Federated at Ride and Drive, you got canceled, so I'm coming."
Awesome.
What? I'm coming. So we got Schrader.
Anywhere, anytime.
Yeah, anywhere, anytime. And Schrader had a blast. We had a really good time on Wednesday night out the Chop House restaurant there in Swan Lake. We had a great time.
I bet. I don't think from what I've heard, it's hard to have a bad time with Ken Schrader.
You want me to tell you a Schrader story?
Absolutely,
real quick?
tell me.
Okay.
Listen, I'll sit here all night.
Here's a Schrader story. Back in 1982, we were at Nazareth, Pennsylvania. It was a rain-out show, and they had the Silver Crown race. And Schrader was running second. Ron Schumann was leading the points. He was on Firestones. Schrader was on Hoosiers with Blackie Fortune's car, the 39 car.
Okay.
And Sheldon Kinzer drove the Ben Leva, the Ben's Tire Clinic car, right? And Schrader blows up. And I remember he comes down to Benny and he says, "Benny, can I run your car? We blew up and I got a shot at winning this championship, and can I run your car?" Benny's like, "Got to go talk to the big fella." Well, Sheldon, he was a big guy, hands was like that big, you know. And he goes down to him and says, "Sheldon," he says, "I just want you to know one thing." He says, "We blew up and I got a shot at winning this championship. If I could drive your car." Sheldon says, "I'll tell you what, Schrader, I'll let you do that under one circumstance. You name your firstborn son after me." To this day, it's Sheldon Schrader.
There you go. Wow.
Schrader. That's how that happened.
How about that?
Yep, that's how it happened.
Hey, he won that championship though, didn't he?
He won the championship too. And that was the first. I never remember. Bob Newton was he never drank. Bob Newton never drank. But
Schrader did.
Schrader did. Well, even the night before this race, I mean, we were well overserved. Right? And I'll never forget. Schrader said, "Where's Bob?" I said, "He's up in his room." So he went and got on the hotel phone and called him, "Bob, come down here." And I'll be darned if he didn't have Bob had a 7-7 and put $100 bill. He says, "Buy the next round for everybody."
Oh yeah, Bob.
And Bob left.
Perfect.
But that was the only time I ever saw Bob Newton ever.
Worth it.
But it was worth it. He won a championship. That's the first time we ever won a USAC Silver Crown.
Sheldon Kinzer got a kid named after him.
Yeah, Sheldon Kinzer got a kid named after him. Yeah, Sheldon Schrader.
So, but the question I like, and this you're my first guest on this show, but my other shows, one thing I like to ask all my guests to end the interview: if you could go back and watch one race with one person at one track, what are you watching? Where are you watching it at? And who are you watching it with?
Man, there's a lot of races.
I hear you.
One race.
And it doesn't have to be a specific race necessarily, but I'm talking a track, a class, and who do you want to watch with?
The good-looking one from Sioux Falls, South Dakota. You know who that is?
Who's that?
Doug Wolfgang.
Okay.
Winning the Knoxville Nationals.
All right.
Coming through the alphabet soup to get to the ending and then win it.
Yeah.
So that was one that stands out in my mind.
Okay.
100%. Wolfie was.
And that says something because Irish Saunders has seen a lot of races.
I mean, there's a lot of them. I mean, I've seen a lot of good ones. You know? I mean, just what Kyle did this past weekend.
Oh, unbelievable!
Unbelievable, right?
Yeah.
They said that his plane was.
They held that race up a little bit.
You think so? Okay. Well, I don't know.
So I'm fine with it. I mean, it's a cool story, but they held it up.
But I mean, that was somebody even said that's better than the Indy.
Honestly, yeah.
I mean, but here again, Kyle.
It's more of a true racing.
And I text Kyle right after I saw he went the next morning. And here again, he replies right back. Thank you. And I mean, he's another one that Kyle Larson. He's all about racing. Him, Brad Sweet. I mean, the high limit deal. They've got a lot going on.
Yeah, it seems like a really good.
So the high limit dude, they don't race a lot.
Yeah.
But when they do, it's a show.
And they have that charter system, so it seems like the teams are getting something back instead of just everybody's dumping money and setting money on fire and nobody's
100%. You know, and I mean, there's just certain things that I've. And again, this group that takes care of this midget thing, we're all, I shouldn't say old timers, but we've been around it enough that we've seen things that fail
Yeah.
So let's don't make the same mistakes.
Right.
Right. So
Yeah.
let's not do that. Just like the $60,000 engines, you know. Steve Lewis, who owned the 9 cars, right? The 9 midgets. He called up one day and he goes, he said, you need to get like 4 of them manufacturers and just do like $30,000 to $35,000 engines. I said, Steve, I said, you're probably about twice as much as we need to pay for these things.
Yeah.
He goes, really? I said, yeah, really.
Yeah.
So I mean, you can go find a Focus engine for these things. I think Garrett just found one for $500 in his junkyard.
Yeah.
So and you get it rebuilt and you put all the
Yeah.
right stuff in it and stuff, and you're good to go.
Yeah, like I said, the cost effective is going to be the future of racing if we're going to survive. And
it's got to be entertaining too.
Yeah, and I think it seems like the Cars Tour is trying to do that a bit too. I know that's a bit probably more expensive than the midgets are.
Yeah,
but it seems like they are at least trying to keep a cap on it and trying to appeal to the grassroots racer. At some level,
here again, you got guys like Junior, you got Kevin, you got Burton.
Yeah.
Those guys have done it all. They've seen it all, and they know. And Kevin knows what it costs. To run. Junior knows what it costs to run. So they're trying to keep the lid on it for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, a cost effective is the future, and I'm glad those guys get it.
Yeah.
Well, another question I want to ask you. I know I keep saying one more question.
That's okay.
If you could bring one track back, I know there's a lot of options there too. Mine would be Rockford. I miss Rockford.
Rockford was a good track.
Damn, that was a nice little short track.
Yeah, Rockford was good. If I could bring one track back.
You mentioned the Villa earlier. I know.
A Villa. Can I give you more than one?
Sure.
Ascot.
What's Ascot?
Gardenia, California. It was a dirt track.
Okay.
Ascot. Brad Knopfsinger. Have you ever heard the name Brad Knopfsinger?
I've heard the name.
Okay, you have to do your research on him.
Okay, sounds good.
Brad Knopfsinger, he ran Cup, right? But he started out in sprint cars on the West Coast in California. And one day we were just joking, and I said, "Hey, Knopfy," I says, "Why don't I just send you this drag tire for a left rear?" I said, "And you just put it on the car," because I said, what it's going to do is it's going to grow and take stagger out going down the straightaway, and then when you deaccelerate, it'll shrink back down and let the car rotate. And he thought I was joking.
Yeah.
He put it on. He won 7 features with that tire. And Ascot was cool. Dean Thompson, Bubby Jones, all those guys. I mean, I'd like to see that come back. Avila was a cool track too. There's so many tracks, and I hate to say it this way, but it's almost like Buju. There's just not enough inventory to fill the shelves. And the inventory is race fans and cars.
Sure.
And the shelves are racetracks.
But to counterpoint that to an extent, if you start taking away the shelves and there's no more shelves for those inventory to go to, then the inventory just expires.
Right. Or if the shelves go away, maybe that inventory that was just half the shelf was half full. Maybe they'll go over here and make a full show. Because God, I can remember, back in the day when you'd have 40 cars at a outlaw late model race. But it's just
that's what you see the complaints on Facebook, which I've talked about Facebook complaints plenty on this show. We don't got to get into too much, but you hear back in my day we had an E feature and we ran until 3 a.m. Well, there's just not enough cars to make that happen.
And
if you pulled every car from every track and put them at 1, it'd be tough to make
we really tried with Plymouth. We had a self-imposed curfew of 10:30.
Yeah.
Because people don't want to sit there. You look at this sometime when you're at a race, Buju. If you're back behind the crowd and you can see them, and you have a lengthy caution, what's everybody doing? On their phone. We were at Volusia, and they had a flip down at Volusia over Bike Week. We went out there because they had 2 outlaw shows there. And they had a flip, and it took a long time to get it cleaned up. And I told them, I said, "Hey, look at everybody down in the stands. What are you looking at?" I said, "What they're looking at. Their phone. They're bored. They want to be entertained."
Yeah.
We had a guy named Rick Hummer. He was a DJ at B100.
Oh, okay, yeah. I knew the name.
And he does all the commercials for R&B Car Company, right? And one day we were sitting there talking. I said, "Rick," I said, "when you go to a rodeo, when they're loading the buck and shoots, who's entertaining the fans?" He said, "The rodeo clown." I said, "We need a rodeo clown." So he came down, and you can look him up on YouTube. Rollin' Ready is what his name was. He came down. I didn't even recognize him.
Yeah.
He was a redneck rocket science, right? I mean, he had hair. He had a gold tooth.
Yeah.
But he was funny. He was entertaining, and when there was downtime, he would go through the stands and he would
Yeah.
entertain the crowd
Yeah.
and talk to them.
Yeah.
So
I remember Sparky the Clown at South Bend
there,
when I was
yeah,
a kid. Air
exactly.
balloons.
Whitey the
and-
Clown,
Yeah.
Pete the Plumber.
Uh-huh.
That's I'm dating myself.
Yeah, that's
now,
before
so,
my time.
Yeah.
But no, like I said, I appreciate you joining me today.
No.
We'll have to do this again sometime. I want to talk to Eric and Garrett sometime too. I'm going to milk the Saunders for all I can get.
That's all right. I hope we can all help in motorsports.
No, yeah,
I mean, we're all
trying to pull in the same direction.
Yeah, we're all passionate about this thing. We
Yeah.
want to see there's no I in this whole
No,
motorsports. It's
absolutely,
all
yeah.
we.
Absolutely.
What we can
That's
do
how I
to
feel
make
as
it
well.
good, you know.
Get those let's get those stands full again. That's how I feel about things. Yeah.
That's what we got to do.
Absolutely. Thank you again, Irish.
All right, you bet.
Irish Saunders on Bleachers and Features. All right.
How fun was that? How great was Irish? Is that not the perfect first guest? Ooh, Mike's falling on me. Is that not the perfect first guest for a racing a show that's about a passion for racing? Is there a better first guest than Irish Saunders and the stories that he brought us? I knew Kenny Schrader was going to come. I'm kind of surprised how long it took for Kenny Schrader to come up in the podcast, to be honest with you. But yeah, it was. I had the blast at Irish's house. We probably could have sat there for another 3 hours and kept on going. But I mean, we talked for another 45 minutes after we stopped recording, I think. But yeah, definitely gonna have to do that again. That was a lot of fun, and I really appreciate Irish. Like I said in the interview, I don't think anybody has a more powerful contact list. There aren't many anyway that have a more powerful contact list in the world of racing than Irish Saunders. And he took 2 hours out of his day to sit down and have a conversation for my little podcast that, yeah, it really means a lot. So thank you to Irish Saunders. Looking forward to doing that again and hanging out with my new friend Irish. Like I said, people who love racing tend to get along. But I do want to get into the local world. Well, I guess Irish is the local world, but I want to get into what's happening. You know what I'm saying? First off, Cletus at Berlin. I know this is old news at this point, but I didn't do a show last week. Selling out Berlin and 9,000 seats or whatever it is on 2 days and a weekend, selling it at 18,000 plus. That's insane. And I've been vocal about how I feel about Cletus kind of, how do I want to phrase this? Cletus kind of skipping rungs on the ladder to get into, he wants to race Daytona and Talladega. We realize that. And he's slowly realizing how much harder that is than he initially realized. Finally got into a super late model, which I still feel like maybe too advanced, but I don't know. I guess, I don't know. Whatever. It's not for me to say. It's not my money, and I'm not the one racing against him. I'm just a fan in the stands, right? But yeah. You can say what you want about him taking the path that he's taking to do what he wants to do in stock car racing, but oh man, I got the cup race on. I was pointing in the wrong direction. That's bad news for me. That stinks. What happened? But anyways, what Cletus is doing is good for the sport. You can have the conversation about, the path that he's taking and the way that he's doing it, but ultimately 18,000 people at Berlin Raceway over the course of 2 days, over the course of 3, whatever the hell. That's good for our sport. And there's no other way to think about it. Full grandstands are good, and whatever path it takes to get there, shout out Cletus for doing it. And he did finish third on Saturday or whatever, right? So, hey, what do I know? Maybe I'm stupid. Maybe you are stupid. And he's racing the Dome. That's pretty cool. He's going to be terrible at the Dome. He's going to be so bad. But that's fine. That's fine. I'm curious how much bigger that event can get. There's just already so many people there, and Cletus is going to bring, do they open up more of that upper deck there in St. Louis? In the Lou? I don't know. I'll be there, so I'll report on it for you. My plan for the Dome weekend is to do a spit it out, buddy. My plan for the Dome weekend is to do a podcast in the hotel. Maybe do a little bit of recording. I wonder if they'd throw me out for recording inside the venue. I don't know. Might have to have some fun in December at the Dome with the podcast. But yeah, Cletus racing that as well. So Like I said, I'm curious how much bigger that event can get. What is Cletus adding to maybe the biggest short track? It's definitely the biggest short track racing show of the winter. That's undoubtable. But it's like, as far as attendance goes, it feels like it's got to be one of the biggest, period. And then you just added the guy that brings the people. So what does December look like with Cletus added to the roster for Gateway Dirt Nationals? The Clash on Wednesday. I honestly wasn't very vocal about it, I guess, but I was anti the Clash on Wednesday. I don't think it works that late in the year. I didn't think it works that late in the year. School going back, like fair season's kind of wrapping up, and like sports going on and everything. I didn't think school was the biggest factor, honestly. But also just being a Wednesday and being a realist and realizing how small racing crowds get in general at times. And then you throw a work night into the mix. I was very skeptical of how that was going to work on a Wednesday. And maybe I was just pouting because I can't go on a Wednesday. It just doesn't work for me. But it seems like they had a great crowd. So I guess I'm dumb. Again, see? Yeah, you can be, and that's why I don't blab my opinion on the internet 24 hours a day. So I don't look stupid when I am wrong. And I'll admit when I am. Unlike some of you. But hey. Moving on. Good crowd on Wednesday at Kalamazoo. And shout out to them because it's not easy to do. That means they promoted the hell out of their event. I don't know their full team, so I don't want to start naming names because then people get left out. But filling some grandstands on a Wednesday without Carson Hocevar in that area or, a big name in the field, that's really impressive. So shout out to Kalamazoo, Randy and his team up there, Donnie and all them, putting together a great event on a Wednesday. Brock Gannis wins the Rabers Rumble street stock portion. Seems like Brock had him covered in that event, and he's selling his car, which is a very curious move. How are you going to get better than that? That's kind of going to be a scary thought if you got to race against Brock. He's going to improve on this, in theory. That's what he thinks he's going to do, right? If he's building new. I assume he's sticking street stock. Is he not sticking street stock? I don't know. You tell me. Brock, come on the show. Brock, you're officially invited on the Bleachers and Features if you want to talk about it. But yeah, shout out to Brock. I'm a Gannis fan. I like watching Brock and Jeff race. I think they always put on a show, and I think Jeff had a reputation in the day for maybe being more. I think he got an unfair shake at times, is what I'm saying. I've always been a fan of the fives. So shout out to Brock Gannis taking the checkered in the Rabers Rumble. Tristan Crago won the Last Chance B feature, whatever. I'm not sure. I haven't watched it yet. I have to be honest. I just haven't been home. I haven't had time. But I know Crago won the B, and Terry Seneker, 6-time champion of the Kalamazoo Clash, right, breaking the record, was tied with Tyler, I believe, at 5. Don't hate me because I don't have the numbers in front of me. So I saw some people very upset that somebody didn't know the exact statistics at the moment. My memory doesn't work that way. I'm sorry. But 6-time winner of the Clash is Terry Seneker. It's so cool that in 2026 the Seneker name is still winning monster races in the state of Michigan at that. How cool is that? As a fan of racing history, I appreciate that very much. So here's my hot take, I guess. If we're talking about big races, a late model race should never be more than 75 laps, and a street stock race honestly should never be more than 40, but I'll give you 50. Unless you're inverting the full field, I think you are only lessening the quality of the race by making it longer. Make it a challenge for those fast guys to get to the front. Avoid the chaos of if we have too many cautions, people start running out of fuel. And I understand that that's on teams to some extent. I assume you know what I'm talking about here. I'm not informed enough on the outlaw super late model racing world to give my opinion on that. So that's just my, like I said, race fan. So I assume that the teams have some fault in that matter, but I just don't think that anything over 75 makes the race any better at the end of the day. Unless you're going to do a full invert. And full inverts aren't even all that common around the country, are they? I feel like that's an us thing for the most part. But I don't know. I guess you get comers and goers and stuff, but when it comes to a true short track, and I'm not talking like a Nashville or a Winchester, because Winchester's in a special category. Kalamazoo's great. Don't get me wrong. I love Kalamazoo. But I just don't see a race over 75 laps adding to it. I think every lap over 75 makes the race a little worse. And obviously there's instances where you have great stuff happen after that mark in the race. But how much of it is natural or how much of it is forced by a late race caution? Because somebody blew up or lost a hose or fell out of the seat because it's 100, we're 115 laps in, and now we have a restart that's going to leave us with 6 or 5 to go. How much of that is manufactured from that, and how much of it is just the race playing out naturally to a great ending? I think you have a better chance at doing that at 75 laps than you do anything over. And street stocks, I think, like I said, 40 for me is where I'd cap them, but I'd give you 50. Outside of that, I get everybody wants tire fall off and everybody wants comers and goers, and I get that the clash was dramatic, but judging by Race Monitor, if that race ended at 75, it would have been one hell of a finish between at least 3 drivers, I think. Gannis, Seneca, and Rohrig, right? Said I haven't watched it. I was watching Race Monitor like a good boy while it was happening. Couldn't be at the race, so I'm not going to watch it free live. Who am I to do such a thing? But yeah, Terry Seneca, 6-time winner of the Clash. Wish I could have been there. Wednesday's our shop night. I got to work. If it was a Thursday, I could probably swing it and just drag ass at work Friday, get my stuff done. I'm not saying I'm a half-ass work. Listen here. I get my stuff done. When Buju clocks into work, he's getting his stuff done. That's a promise. I don't care. It don't matter how tired he is. He might be grumpy while he's doing it, but he's going to get it done. But if it was on a Thursday, I might have drug myself up there and made it happen. But Wednesday is it's just tough. I can't do it. But yeah, that was the Clash on Wednesday. I was at M40 on Saturday. It's been a while since I've been in the M40. About a month and a half, I feel like. Went up there with my buddy Evan Verdine, who was making his debut in the street stock class at M40. First time on American Racers, first time at M40, like I said. I was pretty fired up to go up there with him and make his debut up there, trying a new track. It's a tricky little track, and he found that out pretty quick. He ended up having fun on the day, got 9th in the feature. 2nd in the heat, 9th in the feature. I think he was 9th quick in qualifying as well. So we were pretty happy with the day. He figured it out a lot, didn't tear the car up, so that's a good day at the racetrack, right? It was Eric McLaughlin that won that race. That was probably the second best race of the night. There was at one point where McLaughlin, Travis Schleybaugh, Brandon Maynard Jr., and Logan Maynard were throw a blanket over him, 2 wide and 2 deep, racing for the lead in the street stocks at M40, and that was a really good race to watch. So Crashers Adventures always has that. I was already talking about the Clash. Obviously, you can watch those on Top Row Racing Media, as always. Always has Kalamazoo covered up there, does my buddy Lewis. I know we have Chloe Mazzagatti on the Monday Night Rewind this week. If you're not listening to this live or before that comes out, you can check that out live on Top Racing Media on Mondays, or you can find it on your favorite podcast platforms or on his page. But Chloe Mazzagatti had a great finish in the Kalamazoo Clash too, huh? Finished at Kyle Crump. That's legit stuff. And obviously we're going to have her on Monday and we'll talk to her then, but there's been a lot of hype about Chloe, and I think in a lot of the times I've seen her, she's either had bad luck and then some rookie mistakes, obviously, which you're going to have. That's not talking trash. Anybody has that, and everybody's gone through it. Just hasn't had a great... I haven't been in person or witnessed a genuinely awesome Chloe Mazzagatti performance, and that Clash finish is an awesome performance. Like I said, I haven't seen the race yet, but seeing the names that she finished in front of, and I mean, you watch racing enough, you kind of see what's happening. Even if you're just watching on Race Pass, you can kind of get the vibe of the race, right? You know if she's finished in front of jokers, and she's not finished in front of jokers. She didn't limp to that finish. She didn't luck into it. She drove the race car to a great finish and a great race with badass race car drivers. So that's very, very impressive out of Chloe Mazzagatti, and to me, a spotlight moment that people should be talking about her after that, and they are, which is well deserved. So shout out to the 87 car. We'll talk to her on the Monday Night Rewind on Monday. But back to M40. Eric McLaughlin in street stock race. How did I get to Crashers Adventures, Top Racing Media? I gotcha. So yeah, the M40 action is on Crashers Adventures. You should watch that street stock race that Eric McLaughlin won. It was a very good one. The Montville stocks, in my opinion, were the best race of the night. Steven Loffman won that one. They were slicing and dicing for the last 10 laps of that one for the lead. There was 3 cars involved at one point, then one dropped out, then I think a lap car got in there. It was crazy racing in the Montville stocks. That was the last race of the night, and if you left early, you missed out because it was a really fun one. Excuse me. A frog in my throat. Also, over the course of the day, Jason Seltzer, who was filling in for Frank Gasco. I don't know the dynamics there. I think he's just filling in for Frank, right? Frank's still there. But, yeah. Jason was nice enough to have me join him in the booth for a quick interview to plug this stuff, Bleachers and Features and Buju Bullring and all that. So I was very appreciative of Jason for letting me do that. We've only talked a couple times in person, I think. So very cool of Jason to come out there and let me do that. Got a big old hug from my buddy Jeff Skiat, which is always cool as well. Watched that Road Warrior race from the tower, which a Buju Bullring car won. Dakota Milborn won the Road Warrior feature. A few cars just broke out chasing him for that lead. So shout out to the 101 and my buddy Dakota Milborn. That was a really good race too. Dakota Milborn getting it done in the Road Warrior class. Got to pull up my list of winners here. Roger Northrup in the Michiana Monster Outlaw Limited Late Models. Mouthful there for that division. So shout out to the 29 car, former champion of the M40 Speedway. I wouldn't have picked him in that race, honestly. I would have picked Jeff Bozell if we were gambling on it in the stands. But Roger Northrup put it on him. He had a big lead and took the checkered flag in the Michiana Monster Outlaw Limited Late Model division. Jesse Terry, in my opinion, the most exciting class right now at the M40 Speedway. The Factory Fords, Jesse Terry got the win in that in an exciting race. The Buju Bullring cars didn't fare as great in that one. Not sure officially how the 37 and 38 ended up, but not the finest night at the racetrack for that crew, unfortunately. But hey, you'll have those, right? Late in the year, stuff happens. Tempers flare. Stuff gets rowdy. Love you, brother. Dave Sensabaugh won in the Vintage Modifieds. The VROA mods invaded the M40 Speedway. He won when I announced at the New Paris Speedway earlier this year. Bit of a legend in the racing world, Dave Sensabaugh. So shout out to him getting another win in 2026 in those Vintage Modifieds, doing it at the M40 Speedway. Who else we got? Dan Rigoni in the Extreme Stocks. Damn, he's fast. That car is wicked quick. Whatever he's got going on there is good stuff. That does it for winners at M40, right? 7 classes at M40 this week. 100 cars in I think 99 officially. But with promoter math, that rounds up to 100. I was thinking about this in the car last night. If you have 93 cars, you have 93. If you have 94 cars, you have 100. That's promoter math. And if you have 100, you have 120. Right? 120. I'm taking subtle shots at all my friends in this one. I'm sorry, Tony. I'm wilding. That does it for M40. I had an Uncrustables. All right, this is heartfelt. From me to the Russell's M40 Speedway. I'm putting my phone down. I'm looking right into the camera for this one. This is a behind the scenes thing. I'm always looking up at myself on the screen to make sure that I don't look crazy, but I'm looking directly into the camera for this one because this is sincere. From me to the Russell's M40 Speedway. Thank you for changing the deep fried Uncrustable price back to $5. That's the price. They're great. Trust me. Maybe they're worth $7, but it's hard to come off $7 when you take a trip to the concession stand, especially if perhaps you're going to want more than one deep fried Uncrustable. So to Bill and Johnny and Penny and Megan and everyone else involved at Russell's M40 Speedway, thank you for dropping the deep fried Uncrustables back to $5. Yes, it's that serious. Also had Fiesta Poppers. Still great. Still fantastic. New Paris crowned some champion. Sounded like there was a lot of drama in the street stock feature. Haley Bull kind of got caught up in something. Maybe something broke. I don't know what happened. In the street stock feature, haven't watched it yet. Like I said, I don't think Lewis has even posted that one yet here on Sunday afternoon. So you can't be mad at me for that one, for missing that one. He's working still. Leave that man alone too. But yeah, Haley Bull ends up winning the championship after some problems in the race. They bust ass back in the pits to get her back on the racetrack, and she edges out the Toad, the legend Charlie Hanna, who comes home second in New Paris street stock points, ahead of his daughter Sage. I believe Hambone comes home fourth in the street stock point standings at the New Paris Speedway. Point championships aren't everything they used to be, sure. Racing isn't everything it used to be. We don't have the cars we used to. There isn't the population within the sport that there once used to be. As Irish said, we don't have the inventory that we once did. But to some level, putting a season together is so hard. Getting the car to the racetrack every week is so hard. Keeping the car on the racetrack every week is so hard. And then you have to be competitive on top of it. That's hard to do. And especially the stress that a race team deals with, no matter how silly it may be to an outsider, the stress that a race team deals with when it comes down to the wire, like Haley and Charlie did on Saturday, it's a lot of stress for somebody, especially that driver. I've never been in that position, but I've been very close to people in that position, and I know what it does to somebody's brain. So congratulations, first of all, to all of you on it being over. You don't have to worry about it anymore. But also congratulations to Haley Bull on the championship. I know Rich has been having some stuff going on, and I'm sure that's been heavy on his daughter Haley. So I'm sure this championship is a nice, hopefully, bow on that situation to be the like I said, kind of how you wrap that all together. Hopefully, Rich is back to being rich and can celebrate that championship, well-earned championship with his daughter, who adds another championship to the bull racing, as my friend Lewis would say, dynasty. So congratulations, Haley, and the 22 car. I've been very complimentary of your season and how much more comfortable you got in that street stock as the year went on, and even how comfortable you looked when you first jumped into it. So congratulations to you. I said some nice words to Charlie on Facebook already, but Charlie Hanna is a legend, and he's got a lot of people pulling for him for a reason. So shout out to the Toad and the 68 car with an awesome season down there at New Paris. Nothing to hang his head about, in my opinion. Shout out to the 6'8", and to Sage, who comes home third in points. And Hambone. Shout out to Hambone, dude. Ray Roberts, Cowabunga, dude, in the Hornet division, takes home the New Paris Hornet Championship. I don't know how you can hate that at all either. Ray Roberts seems like an awesome guy. The way him and his wife hook up the kids on autograph night and the spotlight nights or whatever is really cool. Ray seems like a real class act. Seems like all his competitors have a lot of respect for him, just from what I've gathered being at New Paris and the handful of times that I was there this year. I really like Ray Roberts, and I'm happy for him that he gets, I assume this is his first championship, I don't know, but I'm really happy that he gets to add that to his resume. Shout out to the 13 Ninja Turtle car of Ray Roberts. Cowabunga, dude. Chris Harmon wins the Raber Dirtworks 4-cylinder championships at New Paris Speedway, which is no surprise because, like I've said on this show, every time I announced there this year, he won the feature. I know Bobby Lauder won one yesterday, but it's been Chris Harmon all year. So a well-earned championship for the 66. They bring a whole bunch of, he brings most of his own competition to the racetrack. So shout out to the 66 car getting a championship at New Paris. And Kyle Klein wins the Hunter Engineering Company Limited Late Model Championship at the New Paris Speedway. I'm curious how that happened. I'm going to be honest. Definitely thought Bug probably had a big lead. I know he got DQ'd one night, lost a lot of points. But was it that big of a swing? Kyle won one feature. I'm just surprised. I'm not taking anything away from Kyle Klein. He seems like a genuinely awesome guy. Never heard anybody say a bad word about the 454 car. My only interaction with the guy ever was when I interviewed him in Victory Lane. So I'm not trying to take anything away from him at all. It's just as someone who followed New Paris, like I was kind of in and out and announcing, sort of following, watching races when I can. I'm surprised that it shook out that way. I don't really follow points anymore because I don't like points, to be honest. Like I said, I've been close to people who are in tight points races, and I see what it does to people. So in this day and age, the way points championships have gone, I just tend to not really care about them. So I didn't pay much attention to the championship chase in the limited late models that came down to the wire, and I'm just surprised that that's how it shook out. Shout out to Kyle Klein. Like I said, it's so hard to put a season together to get to the racetrack, to be competitive, to win, to stay on the track, to not suck. So Kyle Klein, a champion at the New Paris Speedway. When you think of the list of champions at New Paris over the years, some legendary names on that list. And Haley Bowl, Ray Roberts, Kyle Klein, and Chris Harmon add their names to that list. Congratulations to those four. No matter what the circumstances, you are champions, and no one will take that away from you for as long as you may live. So congratulations on being New Paris Speedway champions. Then we just got some general stuff here. I saw Angola release their schedule already. That's really impressive. I don't know if that's like I hope, pardon my French here, I hope it's not like a pissing match thing. Like, look what we did, we got it out first. I don't think that's the energy that post had. I'm just saying, I hope it's not that. I don't think it is, but I do generally. It's impressive getting your schedule out, and in my opinion, good for the sport. If I can plan if I have a family and I'm trying to plan around my kids' school schedule and all that, and I got to plan around the race schedule to go on a vacation or something, that feels very nice to have that schedule out. Even, what are we, how's math work? 8 months out about from the next racing season. Shout out Angola getting that done. And man, I wish these tracks would sit together and work down on these schedules. Sit down and work together on these schedules. I feel like I said that wrong initially, didn't I? I just feel like with the way weekly racing is going, everybody sees what the stands look like on most weekly nights at most tracks. Obviously, there's exceptions. But if we're being honest with ourselves, we see where weekly racing is going. And I'm not saying take your weekly racing shows off the schedule. I'm just saying these tracks need to get serious and get with each other and look at how we're scheduling these big shows and work together, because we're screwing over the racer and the race fan at the end of the day when we're doing this piss and match stuff and scheduling against each other. It's so frustrating that we're trying, as back to the Irish interview, shelves and inventory. As sparse as the inventory is getting, we shouldn't be fighting over the same inventory on the same nights. It's so stupid. It's really stupid. And it's killing the sport. If you're a promoter, why are you killing the sport? That feels very counterintuitive to what you would need as a racetrack owner or promoter. Work together. Figure it out. Damn. Sorry. So the end of racing season. Unfortunately, in this day and age, and it's probably always been this way, but I feel like lately, maybe flaring up a bit more recently, is some racetracks in question. Where do they go next year? What happens with some of our tracks? Plymouth, we know, is obviously for sale. It seems like, if we're all reading between the lines here, and I think anybody informed enough on the situation kind of sees that we're probably having a management change over there at Plymouth at the very least. So very much in question what that season looks like next year, right? That leaves the question of South Bend. They ran a limited schedule of, 4 events with 1 race class racing and a full night of destruction following the race portion. Does that look similar next year? Does that expand? Is there race-only events? Do they get rid of the racing? If we're being realistic, the track needs work if we're going to do any kind of full kind of schedule, right? Something. Track's not going to hold up forever. I mean, that was the reason we were told we were moving away from South Bend, right? It was the track condition. So if we're being realistic with it, it's not going to hold up forever. But I very much want South Bend open. I don't care if we're racing on gravel out there. I'll be at South Bend. It's just, you have to be realistic about that too. I hope we have an expanded schedule. I'm also being realistic about the situation. The place needs a lot of work. And I don't know how good of a business move it is for someone to invest money into a racetrack in 2026. That's not me trying to talk anybody out of it. It's just being realistic with all of us here. I hope I'm wrong. If I would have had a bunch of money, trust me, I'd dump it in the South Bend against my financial advisor's advice. I'd gladly do it. Just being realistic with the situation. So that's Plymouth in question. What happens next year? South Bend. Obviously, we have a lot more hope with South Bend at the end of this year than we did at the end of the last, or I guess 2 years ago now, right? So hopefully we're at South Bend more next year. Hopefully some positive movement over there. New Paris, I would assume, would be business as usual next year. Kalamazoo, I know Donnie moving on to Springport. I'm not educated enough on that situation to know whether or not he stays at Kalamazoo. Also don't know the status of Kalamazoo in general, but I feel like probably they roll on next year. No big changes. If I'm wrong on that, somebody can message me and I'll keep that a secret. Or any of the track for that matter. But Springport obviously rolling back next year with Donnie Ritter back in charge. I know a lot of people very, 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 very excited about that. I've never been to Springport, so that gives me an opportunity to get up there. I know I still got the Michigan Cup this year too, but got to kind of look how my schedule shakes out for that. Yeah. Hopefully we don't lose any racetracks as the snow falls. Hopefully when the snow melts, we're going back to all the same racetracks we got to go to this year, right? Fingers crossed. I mentioned Rich Bull a little bit. I know he's having some problems. I just want to give a shout out to my guy. I know I've talked about it a lot on my media stuff here, but literally the very first race I ever saw pull onto the racetrack, Rich Bull was out there, and I have rooted for him since that day, and I'm still rooting for him today with what he's got going on. So like I said earlier, I want to see the Radical be the Radical again. So Rich, make sure you're taking care of yourself, and don't ever be afraid to reach out to me if you need somebody to talk to, my friend, because I will always be a Radical fan until the very end. And then another one I wanted to touch on, and this one might be tough. Another one that I was a fan of for my first night at the racetrack. Damn. All right. Somebody else I was a fan of since the first time I went to the racetrack. Dale Oliver Sr. passed away. Dale was never one of the super fast guys, from my memory. Just a racer's racer. Always had such a good attitude at the racetrack. Damn. And I felt like always went out of his way to be nice to me, who was a shy kid at the races. So, yeah, tough one. Yep. I distinctively remember one particular time at Plymouth, back when Bobby Blunt and Tom Smith were promoting down there, and before obviously the renovations, and they had the drivers meeting at the pit tower over there behind the stands in turn one. And I just remember standing over by myself by the fence, just being a kid at the races, you know. I just wanted to hear the drivers meeting. And Dale Oliver came over and just had a conversation. Just came over and had a conversation with a little kid who was a big race fan. And as I say this, and as I say all this on the recording and cry my eyes out, the 21 car of Josh Berry leads the cup race. All right. Whew. That was tough. Rest in peace to the 21 of Dale Oliver Sr. All right. Give me a second. All right. Sorry about that. Yeah. Passionate about my sport and appreciative of the people who were very nice to me along the way. And Dale Oliver was one of those. So, yeah, that was tough. Thoughts, obviously, with his family, Dale Jr., Johnny, the ones I know most, but his wife and daughter and grandkids as well. So yeah, tough for me, obviously, as you saw, but obviously much tougher for them. So thoughts are with them. Don't like ending on a downer like that, but that's how it goes sometimes, right? Want to thank Irish Saunders once again for joining us on Bleachers and Features, first ever guest. And I don't know how we can have a better one, as I said earlier. Stories that we got over that hour were fantastic. If you want to go back and watch that interview in full, I will upload that just by itself on my YouTube as well. In addition to it being on this episode, if you just want to watch just the interview, you can do that as well. So you can check out my YouTube for that. Excuse me. Yeah. Thank you everybody for joining me on Bleachers and Features. We will be back next week, I think, with another guest. Maybe a week off from guests, but we do have another guest lined up and coming up very soon. It's going to be another good one with a lot of stories and I think a lot of laughs this time. So looking forward to that one. Thank you everybody for checking in, stopping in, listening to Bleachers and Features. We will see you next week, and we will see you on the Monday Night Rewind and the Thursday Night Throttle. And I got some more stuff I'm doing soon. So you'll be seeing me, trust me. But most importantly, we will see you at the races.